Hey, it's Chronologically Gaming, the only channel that's perpetually retro because we're playing every video game in order of release. Your one-stop shop for all things video game. Welcome to 1981, it's April. 1982, it's April. And we last played a couple bargain bin in interactive fiction for the Commodore VIC-20. Let's see where we're going now. It's time to check out Computer Gaming World, the latest issue, Volume 2, Number 2, the April and the March-April issue of Computer Gaming World. This was contributed by someone else. I didn't have this specific issue, and once again proves that this, well, you see one person on the screen, this isn't a one-man show. This is a lot of people collaborating together to make this happen, behind the scenes making either games run or giving me the ability to play these or read these magazines. So this is Computer Gaming World, the March-April issue of 1982. So this front of the box looks like, I'm guessing Maze Games is what the homage is, but very, very nice. I can't place the actual location or what it's based on. Hey, Chiptune, thanks so much for the raid. Welcome, everyone. We're checking out the latest issue of Computer Gaming World. We bring the future to the past. This is an ad by SSI. The #1 place in 1982 to have the best games for strategy and tactical role playing too. So you can see this is an ad for Pursuit of Graf Spee, The Road to Gettysburg. And if you're really wanting to play something tactical or strategy, then SSI is the way to go. Definitely. We're going to breeze by the table of contents because we're pretty much going to hit on everything in this magazine. This is the magazine for all people that wanted the gaming world. So if you are a Commodore VIC-20 person, if you're an Apple II person, if you're an Atari person in 1982, and you want to play a strategy game, you want to play a text adventure game, you want to play a tactical game, this is the magazine for you. This is about computer gaming, not console gaming or arcade gaming. What's going on in April or March and April of 1982. So the first part's a letter from the editor. On the left side, they're really just bringing up a couple of new articles of something they're going to be doing new in the magazine. But over on the right side, they say congratulations to Richard A. Fowle, whose robot Norden Plus won the Robot War tournament. They put on a Robot War tournament. Robot War is a game that you could program your own robots and then compete against each other. And so people sent in their robots on disc to the magazine, and then they competed on the computer, and then the robot that won apparently was this guy's robot. So Richard won, and they're going to talk about his robot and why it won. But it's pretty cool of an idea that it's a game where you design, almost like a computer developer, your own robot, and you can save that robot on disk, send it in, and then they compete against each other. Kind of a pre-esports kind of thing going on. All right, so what's new in the world of video games? They say Automated Simulations has announced that Epix and Mind Toys is going to bring Temple of Apshai to the IBM personal computer, which was one of the biggest role-playing games at the time. We'll be looking forward to that one. And then we also have Dragon's Eye is going to be coming to Atari home computers. Mazer Ace, board game on the computer. I don't think we have that one, or we're going to see that one. And then another one is Storm. That's going to be coming to the color computer. I think we are. Okay, Mazer and Storm. Yeah, we're going to be seeing those on the TRS-80 color computer. And then we also have some stuff by Avalon Hill. And I think all those we're going to see. Close Assault, All Hands on Deck. Yeah, and Stocks and Bonds we've already checked out. And then we also have Mission Escape is another one. I don't know for sure. When we go through these magazines, a lot of the games I've seen ahead of time and know they're going to be coming up, but then sometimes it's a game that I'm not familiar with. We've even seen that in manuals whenever they advertise that a game's coming out soon, and I have no record, and there's nowhere online about some of these games. One of them that was big was a game called Inchworm. I looked it up, and there's nowhere of any account of a game called Inchworm, but we saw it in a manual. So here we go. This is more things that are coming out soon. Another one is Adventure to Atlantis, which we have already checked out on the channel. Sequel to the Odyssey game that we played before. That is honestly one of the best games as far as adventure games you could play in 1982. And if you want to order some old issues of Computer Gaming World, I think this is only issue 5. There's less than 10 issues, though. I know for sure about that. All right, let's scroll down a little bit more. What else do we have coming out new? Yes, game from history that are erased, because while we play as much as we can, and every game that we can, there are games that are lost that we probably will never find, sadly. All right, so on the left side we have Asteroid Field, Star Thief, and yeah, these are all the games that are not going to be reviewed, but they have come out. So they're pointing out all the other big ones like Temple of Apshai, Upper Reaches of Apshai, Hellfire Warrior. Those are games we played, and the Keys of Acheron. Those are all part of the Dungeon Quest series, so we've seen that on the channel. And then Ricochet, the abstract strategy action game. I didn't give high marks to it, but they're just talking about this is a quick heads up that we've seen the game, we know the game's out there, but we're not going to be giving a review in this one. And then Bez MX, which is another one that I wasn't able to acquire. And then on the right side, we have some classic 1980s furniture, your Apple desk, micro desk, mini rack, or printer stand. If you are the computer enthusiast, you'd be looking out for stuff like that, I guess. All right, so let's scroll down a little bit more. This is actually interesting. The first letter that they have is a very long letter to the editor, and I'm reading through this because they're talking about Chris Crawford's view of computer wargaming and what the future of computer wargaming is to be, and then they just start telling basically Chris Crawford's wrong about this, and they point out the things that they disagree about that they put in the game. Yeah, Storm. We were talking about Storm recently. Oh, those. Maybe it will be in the book. Yeah, that's true. It might. All right, so if you see here, the article is talking about Chris Crawford, what he said in computer gaming world, and what they say is different. Like, he disagrees that, by the way, he's taking it from an SSI standpoint, Strategic Simulations Incorporated standpoint, and he says he agrees with what you're paying for getting what you're worth for a quality product is definitely what you need. And they're saying a designer stands to make between $10,000 to $20,000 from a game, half of which they'll probably see within 6 months after the release that it comes out. But he has to dispute the claim that there aren't good programmers to write good war games. And he also says that Chris Crawford said $16K is all you would need to make a good video game, and of course he disagrees with that. This whole article, the very long letter, which is interesting because it's usually a person, like a normal, just someone writing in that's an aficionado of the magazine. But no, this person writing the letter is Joel Billings, one of the developers of Strategic Simulations, one of the big developers of SSI. So kind of cool that they put this in here of two different developers, one of them telling what Chris Crawford said and then said, no, I don't agree with everything he has to say about war games. And then the next one is, I believe, okay, yeah, it's about the TRS-80 game computer baseball strategy, and then how they're playing that one. So someone's enjoying it. I didn't have the best experience with it because it's more of a throwback to the old school mainframe computer games. You put in a bunch of stats to the computer plays the game and the baseball game and then tells you what happens. So it's very strategy. That's for sure. Yeah, so there you go. There's the stats that they're giving out based on what they say. And then we have some prices for software that's coming out on the computers. David's Midnight Magic. Oh, there you go. The TASC, the Task Compiler, $175. But Time Zone still showing $100. Or at least, yeah, the asking price for Time Zone by Sierra is still $100. Oh, man. Still crazy high. Oh, so our next ad is from the program store. They have lots of stuff. And notice how they're saying they're slashing the prices down because they have the base price and then they cut them down. Like these are 20% off. Match Racer, Race in Space, and then Wizard and the Princess. A lot of these we've seen before. I don't think Match Racer by Gabelli Software is ringing a bell. But I have to look back on our history for the games we played. And Beer Run. We have played Beer Run, or we will be playing Beer Run. Is that one up there? Yeah, there it is. $35 for Beer Run? Oh my gosh. Yeah, I think that one we're going to be seeing at some point soon. Because I'm trying to remember of the obscure crazy ones. All right, so then we also have Pool 1.5, High Res Adventure 0, Ricochet, Lunar Lander, Rear Guard. Yeah, this is actually more of a catalog of some of the games that the program store has for everybody on the Atari home computer. Hockey, Cypher Bowl. $50 for Cypher Bowl. Cypher Bowl was like a futuristic sports game for football, and it played all right. I gave it an above average rating whenever we checked it out, but $50, man, it's amazing when you think of the price you're going to have to pay to play the game. And then we also have Rear Guard. Really good price for that one. And Lunar Lander. Order now. Toll free. Oh, that's nice. All right, so let's breeze down a little bit more. The next section is about Southern Command. And it gives you information on the left about what this is. This is another war game that we've already seen on the channel, made by Roger Keating, costs $40, and this is by SSI. So the article or the review starts off comparing it to Eastern Front. I love Eastern Front 1941. This one is, I would say, one of the best video games you could play at the time, just because of the user interface. And so they compare this to Eastern Front. Southern Command is not as good as Eastern Front. Now, it is as impressive because of what it does for the war game genre, but it doesn't have the interface. Eastern Front controls with the Atari VCS joystick. You move around with a cursor, and you can control all the pieces. You don't have that on Southern Command. So while it does have the same top-down hex view that makes it a little bit easier to play a war game, no, Eastern Front is way, way better than Southern Command. But you can even say it has, like Southern Command with 48K is as good a game as Eastern Front. And I got to disagree with you. Who wrote this one? Bob Proctor? No. If we were going to go back in time to 1982, Southern Command is good for a war game, but Eastern Front is where it takes the cake, in my opinion. Yeah, 157. Oh, is that what it is today? Yeah. No way. Imagine that. But this is supposed to be the cutting edge. What we're seeing in computer games or war games is the computer's able to think and process so much that it was the latest craze. All right, so this game or this magazine tends to break down the historic games and actually say how historical are they? How good are they back in 1982? And so they're talking about the Southern Command game. It's the Israeli-Egyptian conflict. And so it breaks down if it's true to the story or the source material. And then it also talks about the graphics of the game. Now, this review for the time is similar to most reviews. There is no rating system. It's literally just talking about it and reading about the game. It is the beginning of journalism for video games that we get to check out. One of the reasons I wanted to see that in the magazine is how they talk about video games. It's a read. You want to read and see if the game's good enough because you saw the prices. And thanks for the conversion, Chiptune, because if you're going to be paying for something for a game, you'd read the whole thing and see if it's good enough for to pay that much. All right, and then we have an ad for Selectaport, which I'm going to go into this in a sec. This is something pretty cool for an ad we'll see later. The other thing that Computer Gaming World does is this is going through one article about one game, and it continues about talking about the play of the game, how well it runs, which is pretty impressive to go through this much. And then it even has the conclusion, but Computer Gaming World does kind of like a newspaper where they'll get to the part of the article and say, continued on page 247. You got to go turn to the next page to see the rest of it. But at least this one, we finished it up with Southern Command is the conclusion. It's outstanding game, very realistic historical simulation. I gave it above average. I believe it was 3.5 stars for Southern Command at the time, but I'd still say it doesn't compare to Eastern Front. All right, our next article is How You Can Write a Computer Game by Chris Crawford. Yes, and I want to hear from him because he's the writer of Eastern Front. And so this is pretty cool. It breaks down how you make video games. And at this point, everyone that has a home computer is going to be dabbling, and we've even seen it in Softline for Apple II, how to program the color and the graphics and so forth on your system. And so this is pretty cool, getting it from a developer's perspective, a very good developer, by the way, and even ends up at some point later training other developers. Chris Crawford does. So he talks about this is all a brief intro on getting set up and what you should be thinking about as a game designer, and then the technical expertise, and then the factors. There you go. If you decide, go ahead and write the game that you want after you've done all the pre-planning he talks about. First, toss the idea around in your head and think through it first. Don't rush in and hack the program together. Make sure you know what you're trying to accomplish before you begin to work. And then second, plan the input-output before anything else. The I/O is the bottleneck of all games. And he should say something because he's the one who created the cursor that moves around in Eastern Front. And it is way ahead of its time. So input-output. And this is kind of a cool point because when you go back to play these old war games, most people can't get into them because of the interface. It's so rudimentary. Most of the time, because most of these computers don't have a mouse yet. You have to do it all from the keyboard. And so to control something with a joystick is so nice. No, I don't think there's any Sushi X. And then 30 says to lay out a memory map and stick to it. Decide how much memory your game has, of course, very important. Fourth, develop the algorithms for critical functions of the game. Intermediate steps between broad goals and specific goals. And then fifth, write the program. Sixth, playtest the game. And then seventh is polish the game. Eighth, polish it some more. And finally, when you're done polishing it for another month, then you can go ahead and send the game out. So some good tips from Chris Crawford there. in computer gaming world. And then our next article is about Napoleon's campaign. Some notes that they have to say. This is by Joel Billings, again, one of the developers of SSI. So it's kind of cool. This magazine is not journalists that are doing the articles. It's developers that are talking about the games. I would say that's the biggest difference between this and like computer gaming or electronic games. Softline does have articles like by Ken Williams. So to hear the developers talk about it rather than a journalist talk about the video game is really nice. So this is his review of Napoleon's campaign, another one that's really in-depth. This is the two campaigns. I think it's Leipzig and what is the other one? It's his campaigns in 1813, 1815. And we played this one. It's another one that's really hard to do on the live stream because you could spend months and months playing this one. Obviously, we do a quick taste of the games in 1982. For now, at some point, we're going to get games where I can't just play for 5 minutes and say, oh yeah, that's the whole game. But at this point in 1982, the majority of, especially space shooters, you can get a general idea of what the game's about. And then when we get to something like this, and the game could take months to play, then obviously I'm going to do a demo mode or show you a little bit what the game looks like, how you move units and so forth. But there's a lot to it, a lot to this one. So they break down all the different stats, strategy notes, and design notes, how to play the game. And you can see it there on the bottom right. Continued on page 39 because they wait to like a newspaper. You have to read the rest at the end. All right, so here we go. This is the ad I wanted to talk about. Communicating with your Apple. So this is different controllers. We got the joystick, we have a numpad, and then paddle controls. And so what this is this is a way to switch out. Oh, wait, is this? Okay, this is not the ad, sorry. Okay, so these are examples of kind of off-branded paddles, numpad, and joystick. And we'll see the other ad later, but this company, joystick and obviously controlling your game is really important in 1982. And this company makes a switch because when we play these games on the channel, we're playing either on a paddle for a certain game and then a joystick for another game. But this company makes a switch where you just flip a switch and you can plug both the paddle and the joystick in at the same time and then just switch back and forth on the fly, which is so helpful. If only it's almost like they're preparing for console gaming to make it that easy instead of having to unplug and plug it back in again. Because bear in mind, the Apple II, the joystick port is in the back of the original Apple II. All right, so our next article is about Blackjack Master, which is another one I don't think we're going to be checking out because it's mostly blackjack, casino, and cards. But this one is a whole article about this game. You can see it's on the TRS-80 Model 1 and needs 16K, or is that Model 1 and Level 3? Or Level 2, I mean? Yeah, it's also the tutor for Blackjack Master. Now, we've been playing a lot of games. I have to refer back to if we played this one or not, but if we did, we've only probably got a quick taste of it. A whole review for Blackjack Master. And then our next part of this is kind of interesting. This is the article written as a fiction writing of Castle Wolfenstein. So it's not about the game. It's not a review of Castle Wolfenstein. It's literally a story to read, like a novel about Castle Wolfenstein. Kind of interesting. So it's not a comic, but it's taking something like a fiction from the game and turning it into something you would read. Pretty cool for 1982, because I really love Castle Wolfenstein. That is top tier for all the games you could play up to this point. So kind of a fun read if you wanted to see something about Castle Wolfenstein, like you're living in Castle Wolfenstein. Okay, so here, this is about the paddle and port components of game playing, and then having to switch back and forth. So this is about the, where is it at the bottom? There it is. All the different things, this is by TKC, and the different joysticks and paddles they make. And this one allows you now, you can switch, and there it is in the middle. You can just flip a switch and plug all the joysticks in. You never have to plug them in again. You just switch back and forth. So nice for 1982. All right, our next ad is for Adventure to Atlantis. This is one of the best graphic adventure games, or just adventure games in general. It has a lot of quality of life improvements to it, and it has excellent graphics for an adventure game, and does a little bit more than just wandering around and typing in commands. You actually involve gathering a party of people, and has a little bit of role-playing elements in there. From the makers of the first animated adventure game, Synergistic Software, and they're talking about the, what was it called? Odyssey, the Complete App Venture, purposely spelled wrong, kind of like this one. App Venture to Atlantis. Just so you look at it and go, wait a second, they spelled it wrong, and then you obviously buy the game. Is what I guess. I haven't talked or read any articles about Synergistic Software, but I'm pretty sure they did the misspelling just because they wanted to get more people to buy it. Very clever. All right, let's breeze down to the next one. Is the current state of computer game documentation, which I never thought I'd think about, but it's true. Now that we're in the future, going back to 1982, and we find a manual, it helps a lot if the manual gives us what we need to know about the game, specifically if it's something strategy-based. Role-playing games, if we don't even have the documentation, we don't know what commands to type in, so it doesn't help us. And some of these games, I'm looking at Galactic Saga, for instance, are very, very complex, and you need to know all the commands, and if we try to play them now, we're totally lost. So it's funny that this is an article about computer game documentation and what works and what doesn't work to explain in the manual, or what's going to help people the most. Oh, thanks, L. Curtis B. I knew you'd chime in for something TRS-80. I appreciate it. All right, so this article is pretty much, it's someone that writes for manuals and explains what you should be doing for writing a manual and what you shouldn't be doing. And they even give examples to help you out. Like they show over here on this side ways you should be typing or conveying information to the end user in the manual from their example. So kind of interesting. And then another one continued on the later page. All right, here we go. This is it. My robot got no respect. Miscalculated robot's laser cannon name and got it blown to pieces in the bargain. Perhaps you can program your robot better. And this is about Robot War. Another one, the next game after Silas Warner did Castle Wolfenstein, he got Robot War out there. And this one is so interesting. It's really for the developer because it's a more complex game than just switching out a robot. You actually have to do a little bit of code, or it feels like coding a robot. And then whenever you put him out on the play field, he does all the commands you say and acts the way you want, depending on how well you coded it. And I think they have the next part. Yeah, here we go. This is it. The winner of the Gaming Robot War Tournament, Richard Fowl. And then this is his article of what he did and how he made his robot, Norden, destroy everybody else's. Which all he did was put the disc and send the disc in, and then the CGW is the one that actually put the game in and ran the robots against one another for the tournament. I wonder how they film that, or if there's any record of this tournament to be seen, because obviously if no one's there to watch it, it really doesn't do any good. But if you can actually see the robots move on the screen and attack each other, that makes sense. I wonder how they got it out to him. So this is all his tips and tricks of how to get your robot the best in Robot War, with even some of the code. I think he has the actual one, right? Yeah, this is it, the full thing that he put in, and this is what you'll be typing in and use in Robot War to make Norden Plus, and there he is, the developer's render of him. So cool of an idea. All right, so we got a brand new column here. This is the Silicon Cerebrum by Bruce Webster. It's talking about artificial intelligence in video games, playing against other computers, how well you play against a chess game and so forth. Yeah, even breaks chess automatons, starting all the way back in 1950. They have a brief history of that, and it's kind of interesting because we already played Sargon 2 that just came out for Atari and I think it was TRS-80. So Computer Gaming World's going to need help for those who are actually using techniques in your games right now. And so he wants everyone that's writing artificial intelligence or computer program code to send it into him so you can see and compare the differences. And this is, again, 1982. They've been doing this for a long time on mainframe systems. And while we're hitting off playing everything on arcade, everything on console, everything on home computer, and then handheld, so we are dipping our toes in way too much for most live streams. But we want to get a good spectrum of everything. But the only thing we don't touch is mainframe. And a lot of the games that we play usually are based on something that was already done on a mainframe. And this would be this as well. Artificial intelligence has been pushing and pushing. And a lot of the mainframe systems right now in 1982 are doing things way more than the home computer can do. But we're about to be catching up. So by, I think, 85 is when we get majority of people that can do something at home are essentially doing what you can do on a mainframe system. Yeah, there we go. Representing the world, playing in your own little universe, talking with the player. Yes, they're talking about adventure games that, yes, have artificial intelligence and express commands and talk to you. And we've seen a couple games do that. If you want to have Scott Adams talk to you, check out Adventureland. And then learning. They've been talking about learning in 1982. I don't even know if you can consider it learning in this time. They always boasted that The computer is learning your moves or getting smarter, but I mean, it's kind of rudimentary now. At the time, though, just thinking about another game gets smarter and smarter and learn what you do, especially in chess. If you move a certain piece a certain way, it's going to remember that. That's pretty remarkable. And we got an ad for Fascination Software here above my head. Only the finest Apple software. What in the world? Wormhole. I don't think we played that one. We have Snakebite, Borg, Twerps. There's Time Zone again for $100. Everyone's slashing the price down. Gosh, I'm going to keep looking out for that one because there is no other game that is that high. And it's probably the reason why the Time Zone was High Res Adventure 5. And by the time they did High Res Adventure 6, that's whenever they do the Dark Crystal. So Time Zone kind of got rid of the High Res Adventure part, but it's there in fine print. But then Dark Crystal comes out, and they kind of slash the game down, make it really a little bit easier than Time Zone. And of course, the price is a lot lower. I'm wondering if Time Zone burned Sierra because it was just so expensive. No one bought it, or not many people bought it. All right, our next section is about strategy games involving diplomacy or wealth, money, stock market, and so forth. Apple plus money equals Apple equals money plus President of the United States. How can an Apple possibly get you two things in life you'd love to have, money and power? Only if it's equipped with our latest software, two strategy games so well designed they blurred the distinction between make-believe and reality. Cartels and Cutthroats, which we've checked out, and President-Elect. So both of these, two totally different games, but it does help you do management of money on the stock market or owning your own company. And then President-Elect is where you get to work up in the political term, and we've checked that one out as well. So kind of like, would you want to play that and be the president? All right, so let's go to our next one is a review for Tigers in the Snow, another tactical strategy game. Giving a lot of information on the left side, another war game, 1 to 2 players. That's right, this one you can play alternate if you wanted to. Goes for $40 on the Apple, and then TRS-80. I don't think we played it on the TRS-80. A lot of times when we have multiple games that come out, eventually we're going to have so many computers that have the same game that come out. I'm going to just say it came out for that computer, and then we move on to the next one. All right, so there you go. Tigers in the Snow. What's it about? Really good game if you want to play a tactical strategy one, and then just like they do with the other games on CGW, giving you the history. Is it true to Battle of the Bulge as German forces go over the top? And then they have the conclusion. Tigers in the Snow is as enjoyable as a situation in doubt game, with the possibility of German breakouts threatening to roll up the American line. The tension of hoping your perfectly laid plans don't disintegrate in your face can keep you riveted in your seat for hours. Although the game is not as innovative as other SSI games, it's a design which deserves attention as part of the improving integration of war games and computer software. I say it's about average for the usual game we've seen in 1982, at least for that one. All right, the next one is pretty cool. This is a really older game. We first checked this out a long time ago, but this is A2 FS1 Flight Simulator for the Apple II and the TRS-80. And the first one we played, I think, was on Atari home computer. And this one is epic. This one's so good because this is eventually going to be, who's this by again? Yeah, Bruce Ardwick. Bruce is going to be the one who ends up bringing the Microsoft Flight Simulator and building it from the ground up. Originally published by Sublogic. And so this is a review and how to play that flight simulator game. This one is still good. They're calling it available for a year now, but I think that's a year now on the Apple II and the TRS-80. But this one is the best flight simulator so far we've seen. We've seen a few others, but they're not nearly as good as this. This one goes for the realism of it, and I believe when we checked it out on the channel, we didn't even get very far. We didn't even raise it off the ground. I just talked about it and raved about how good it was, but it is very technical, and you have to read the manual, understand all the commands and so forth. So there you go, how to play. And then our next review is Bug Attack. Bug Attack is another one that we've seen on a couple systems. It's just like Centipede or a Centipede variant. James L. Nichols did this one, and we've checked out both, Apple II and Atari. I gave the Apple II, the first one, higher ratings because it was 81 when we checked that one out, and then the Atari one, I said it's pretty much average for the usual game, and it's also not as impressive as the Apple II version. But it's Centipede that you could play at home. It's done well enough for a Centipede game, and you can see it's continued on page 38, so you can't even see the end review or conclusion of it till you go to the later page. All right, next review is Pinball Mania. Well, we're actually David's Midnight Magic for Pinball, Video Pinball. Really good one. One of the top ones up there with Bill Budge's Pinball. that you could play at the time. Now, video pinball, if you already were a fan in the arcades, you would really want to check this out and play these two, the Bill Budge pinball and the David Midnight Magic. They're both really, really good for the time. Physics are on par, and even have small little features like including multiple balls coming down on the screen at once. Works really well. So that's the review on Pinball Mania, and I think, yeah, continue to get on page 38. They do go in examples over here. Braster Blaster is another one that's out there. I believe that's Bill Budge. Yeah, that's the Bill Budge one. And then next we have some micro reviews for a few games. One of them is Creature Venture, which is a text adventure game. This is the one that I played for just a little bit, and I said it was all right. It was kind of average for the time, considering the other ones. I thought the high-res adventure games were a little bit better than Creature Venture. But what did they say? Just because Creature Venture is good for beginners doesn't mean it cannot be enjoyed or experienced adventure players as well. Oh, it was for beginners? We did terrible. But bear in mind, when we played Creature Venture, it was whenever we weren't looking up the walkthrough and following the walkthrough all the way. We just were winging it, and well, now I really embarrassed myself, because I guess if it was for beginner adventurers, we should have done a lot better. They'd recommend Creature Venture for either the novice or the expert. I do not think you will be disappointed. There you go. We were the experts then. And then we also have Zost in Space by Adventure International. I don't believe we're going to be playing this one. Maybe the later version of it, but the first one is, I think, on Apple II. I can't see from this one. It is a machine language challenge you to pilot your trading ship. Zost in Space is another like simulation of space travel or merchant mining different planets and so forth. And then they even leave us hanging there too. We don't even see the full review for Zost or micro review for Zost in Space. And the next ad is attention for all dungeon masters. They want your help making Apple II Computer Trek for all that D&D strategy needs you to write a complete directory of imagination software. This is a call out for people to hire them to do documentation for their video games. I guess so. So there you go. Continued after what they said about pinball. They enjoyed David's Midnight Magic immensely. Recommend it to anyone using remotely. And I say so, yeah. That's good. That's a good point. Zost, though, is a kind of game you can introduce to a visitor a couple of minutes. If you find yourself stuffing too many quarters into an arcade, this is a fairly good alternative. I don't know about that one. Bug Attack, though, this is the one that's like a Centipede variant. They say if you're a Centipede aficionado or an arcade purist, you will be disappointed with Bug Attack. So they don't say it's close to Centipede or it's as good as Centipede. I thought it was all right, kind of close, at least for the first iteration on Apple II. But your mileage might vary on that. See, a lot of these reviews, it's not giving you just a point scale, like it's out of 10 or out of 5, stars, kind of like we do. You have to read through the whole article, then see the conclusion at the end of what they say about the game. And then this is what they say about the Napoleon, and Napoleon was more of helping you out to play the game. And then the documentation was when we're discussing how to write your documentation better. He says with more sophisticated software, we're going to see a new medium of entertainment to rival the theater, TV, and movies. The manuals for this new medium will have to become part of the presentation, part of the fantasy. And kind of sad because nowadays there really isn't documentation. Everything that we need to know about video games is in the game itself. And it is true that at one point we are going to be up there with theater, television, movies, and the video game industry is going to surpass that. And it's true, the documentation and manuals are one of the best parts. 90s is, I would say, the biggest section when you got strategy guides that come out and those nicely binded books that give you all the information about the game. Really, really a classic. They still do those now, but the majority of the games we play, you don't need the documentation. It's all included in the game. How it's included is a totally different topic. As of right now, most of these games, we just need to know what key do I push on the keyboard. But kind of cool as the future of video games as far as documentation goes. And then as we near the end of the magazine, this one's kind of interesting. This is the reader input about the magazine itself, where you get to rate everything. They want you to rate all the games that they talked about in CGW on a scale of 1 to 9, 1 being terrible, 9 being outstanding. And then they break everything down with presentation, which is the graphics and sound, against other games that run on the same machine. They say game design, rate the game design itself. Apart from presentation, is the game well designed, playable, interesting? Are there problems with the design that make the game less than it should be? Then they have documentation. You rate the documentation. Does it do what it's supposed to? Provide the player with pertinent information. You need to play the game. Is it well written, interesting to read? Then they have life. Does the game wear well? Does it bore easily or still command interest after multiple plays? Like, in other words, the life of the game. Does the game extend, you want to play more of it? And then the price, is the game worth what it sells for? So this is kind of a cool scale that they have here. And then if you put 0, if you've never even played the game. But so they rate all the games they've talked about: Torpedo Fire, Robot War, B-1 Nuclear Bomber. These are all some of the games that you can come out that have come out lately. And then they even have the rating system of what they say. Kind of an interesting way to do it. And then they even want you to rate the magazine itself with the articles. Please rate all the articles in the magazine and give them a 1 to 9 scale, and 0 if it doesn't. If the article doesn't interest you, you put in 0. And then they also want to know, what kind of computer system do you own? What would you like to read about in CGW? And this magazine is the beginning of CGW. It's going to evolve and change like some of the other magazines we've seen on the channel. Very interesting. If only I could go back in time now and write in all this stuff to influence the magazine. Too cool. All right, last ad is for microcomputer games. Voyager 1 over on the left. Love that one. Really cool idea. And then a lot of these are all their strategy games. Computer Foreign Exchange. I don't think we're going to play that one. Or maybe we will. I don't know. We might see it in the future, but Foreign Exchange I'm not familiar with. Everything else here, yes. Football Strategy, Guns of Fort Defiance. Yes, yes, yes. And even more microcomputer games. Yes, tons of ads for this. There you go. That is Computer Gaming World, the March-April issue. As usual, we don't rate magazines. Let's continue our quest playing every single video game. Yes, if I could go back in time, all of the obscure games that we haven't seen, I'd love to tell Computer Gaming World, have you checked out People Pong? Or giving ratings for those kind of games. Be so fun. We just know way too much here on Chronologically Gaming. Even whenever we checked out the electronic games that's playing arcade, handhelds, consoles, and all that stuff, we still know more because we have the global scale. No one's talking about Japanese computer games right now in Computer Gaming World, that's for sure. All right, where are we going now? Our next game is on the Apple II. How interesting. We're going to be playing Cross Country Rallye. Let's take a look at Cross Country Rallye, starting with the box. This one is very interesting design for a computer game. Look at that box. It doesn't even look real. Now, I know that inside of the original box, you got a poster for Cross Country Rallye that looked pretty similar to this. And I wonder if this is just the poster posing as the front of the box. All right, let's flip it over in the back, and you can see this is programmed by Bob Carter. Assembly language needs 48K, Apple II or Apple II Plus. What's up with the spelling of Rallye? I believe this was released in North America, but it looks like it's a European, adding the E at the end. I'm not sure why. Let's take a look at any other artwork we have for Cross Country Rallye. Looks like that's it. The poster was included inside, and every now and then there's extra feelies or things inside the box. I try to capture as much as I can, but some of those are lost, sadly. Unless you have a place like Atari Mania, where you can, people snapshotted everything that ever came in an Atari home computer box, or their cartridge that they played on the console. That's the way, the way to do it. All right, let's pop in and play some Cross Country Rallye. It's April 5th, 1982. Where were you April 5th, 1982? We are ready to run. This is not the genuine way you would have played in 1982 because it's cracked. Thanks, crackers. We would be able to play it today. Okay, so I want to take a brief moment to explain the controls. It does give you the option for keyboard and paddles. I believe this is the most confusing keyboard-controlled game for any computer game we've ever played. It is a racing game or a top-down racing game. If I select keyboard, this is all I've figured out, and I've tried pushing everything on the keyboard. That if you push spacebar, the car turns itself at 45-degree angles. Like that's what it does if you push spacebar. If you push 2, the car moves only backwards. And I haven't figured out what else all the controls. I've tried every other key. Nothing works with keyboard. So I would say with keyboard, this one is jacked. But I'm going to go paddles. Paddles, actually, I can get something done. The other thing that's interesting is this is 8 players. And you're like, wow, 8 players? Well, it's all alternating. And I think there's something going on with computer games because we're getting more and more arcade games adding players. We played games that have 8 people for an arcade game, but it's all alternating. So, I mean, why do that if you got a party of 8 people at home? Maybe you're passing the controller around, or maybe it's just a way to boast to say my game can play 8 people at a time. Yeah, all it means is one person sits down, does their turn on the keyboard, and then the next person comes up and then does their turn on the keyboard, and 8 people get to play. So you got a party going on and you want to play some cross-country rally. You can do it that way, but I'm just going to do one player because it makes no difference. It's all alternating play. So you do get to put your name in, and then whenever it's time, you can see they would have listed all 8 people here, and then hitting the key to start. We're going in. Timer's counting down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yeah, if it's more popular in Europe, then why was this North America whenever it came out? Okay, so the paddle controls, if you're familiar with the way the paddle works, it only is going to twist left and right. So I'm playing with relative controls. So whenever I turn the car, every time I turn left, the car is going to turn left however way it's facing. And the idea of the game is it's a cross-country rally. You got to pick up all of the flags like we're playing Rallye X, but on a kind of larger scale. So we do have the radar over here on the right side of the screen, and I'm going toward the number 1 because I'm trying to pick up the number 1 flag. Looks like I'm in a city area. That's a nice touch. There we go. Got the number 1. Now let's head over to number 2. Looks like we got a few cars over in that area. The radar is like Rallye X, and the top-down view is like Rallye X, but this is assembly language, and look how jerky it is. The frame rate really isn't up to snuff with other things we've seen or could see on the Apple II. Uh-oh. Okay, I didn't want to turn toward them. I had the smoke, but I think it's going to run at me. There we go. Got it. Got the 2. Let's head down to the 3. Oh, no, we won't. And I do also have 2 buttons on the paddle, the Apple paddle. I can push one button to do the smoke, and I can push the other button to do an about face. It literally just flips your car around the opposite direction. And you can see here, I got someone coming up. Are they stopped? Oh, man. Collision. Definitely collision. Okay, let's do new route, which means it's going to switch up the playfield. Oh, it's going to switch up where the flags are. Okay. So counting down. Not a lot of sound, but kind of typical for the Apple II. So if I want to, I hold the paddle to the left to move left, and then I just keep it steady on as I go to the top. But even with the frame rate, I would say this is still a really fun game to play. A Rallye X game for the Apple II that's on a larger scale. Let's just flip around. We went the wrong way. Dead end. And it's not merely like trying to get every flag and move on to the next level. It's kind of larger, or it feels larger. Yeah, this map seems way bigger than the arcades. Oh gosh, no. I don't think I can work my way through this with the paddle controls. Oh yeah, I did do it. Wow. You almost got me there. Cross-country Rallye X. Let's flip around, go the opposite way. Nope, flip around. I'm still timing it wrong. There we go. So you get the hang of it. It does take a little bit getting used to. It's just, I really want a keyboard to work. At least something we're used to seeing on the keyboard. You know, like you move left and right to move the car. And no, it doesn't control that at all. It's very weird. I couldn't figure it out. I've been stuck in 1982 for quite a long time, and I hope I've been able to figure out what games are controlled on other systems. And so if a game comes to me now, and it's been this long playing different things, oh gosh, I'm stuck again. Go back. No, go that way. Oh my gosh, it won't turn. Thank you. Oh my gosh. For the people that have a lot of trouble trying to get your car to move with relative controls, I can see this causing a lot of headaches. All right, I guess I'll go to the right. Yeah, they got me in the maze here. You can see I'm trying to get the number 1 flag, and it's all over the place. There it is. That's the way to do it. Much better. And then 2's right over here. And you just make your way around picking up all the flags, move on to the next level. I don't know for sure if this is giving us like the experience of playing a different map or level every single time, because I never picked up all the flags. It's a cross-country rally, so it takes a long time to pick up all of them on that giant map. Now, while the game itself is cool because it's Rallye X and it's the top-down, has the radar and all that stuff, the draws for the game are the controls. I'm bumping it down because of the controls, and I'm bumping it down because of the frame rate, because whenever you're trying to move and control the car, it's not smooth with the paddle. Paddle's supposed to feel nice, like really smooth to turn. It does not. So I'd rate this higher, but I'm just going to go for 3 stars for cross-country rally. It could be much better with a few things tweaked, but I'll just say perfectly average for the time. All right, let's continue to our next game. It's time to go to the arcade and see what Sega's cooking up with TaxScan. TaxScan's another classic game. If you've never heard of it, it's a blast to play. Let's take a look at the advertisement flyer. Yes, by Sega. Sega's newest Converta game, a fantastic 3-scene space game. 3 different scenes, and looks like they're using comic art for the front of the advertisement flyer here. Looks awesome. Flip it over in the back, you can see it has Armada Attack, Eye-Level Excitement, Space Tunnel, and unpredictable new features. And it does give you examples, a few of the screenshots of the way the game's played, because you go from 3 different scenes when you play in with your squadron. And an example of, is that, yeah, the upright cabinet and the cocktail. There you go. That's what TaxScan looks like. Very nice artwork on the outside. It is meant to be the ultimate space shooter, like all the space shooters, right? There's the control panel. You're controlling this with just the spinner in the middle. So spinning left to right. You have fire and then add ship, and that's all you have for controls. And for 2-player, it's alternating play. So you just switch off your turn. There you go. There's the controls for it. And the arcade marquee for TaxScan. The name, though, why? Why TaxScan? I guess all the space names have already been taken at this point in 1982. Let's take a look at the manual for TaxScan. Now, the one we're going to be checking out is the first one where Sega brought it in Japan, but that advertisement flyer and this manual is for North America. But we'll be going to Japan to play TaxScan, that's for sure. The owner's manual. What does it have to say about TaxScan? Microprocessor, electronic game, blah, 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 blah. We already know all that. There it is. 1 or 2-player alternate action game displayed via Sega's Color XY video system. Commanding unprecedented firepower, the players maneuvers 7 fighter ships in a squadron formation. All 7 ships fire at once when the fire button is pressed, producing a spectacular missile salvo. Object of the game is to accumulate points by destroying incoming enemy ships while dodging fireballs launched by these enemies. Well, duh, that's every space game. TaxScan presents the space battle from 2 entirely different perspective views in the course of the game, with visually exciting transition sequences interconnecting the 2 views. Whoa. They could have said that a little bit better, I guess. After we just saw an article about manuals. The player begins the game with 7 ship formation. A supply of reserve ships are shown above the player's score on the screen. The number of reserve ships at the beginning of the game is switch selectable. Add ship button is placed next to the fire button, and you can transfer your reserve ships down because that big formation of ships is going to be in your way. So before I start the game, it's pretty hectic. But you're going to have this big formation, and you're going to easily get shot. So whenever the ships go away, you can choose to wait before adding more of your reserve ships in until it's time. A player fighter is blown up on contact with either an enemy ship or an enemy fireball. Whenever all 7 ship positions become empty, the game is over, even if there are remaining reserve fighters shown above the player's score. Thus, the player has to continually judge when to add reserve fighters using the Add Ship button. So before you're about to go out, make sure you put those ships in from your reserve. There's an additional way to add ships to the squadron during the course. Player fighter ships enter playfield intermixed with enemy ships. So sometimes you can pick up extra ships just flying around. Then TaxScan begins with a top-down view of the battle the first 10 seconds, shoots at enemy ships without having to worry about returning fire, and then after the warm-up period, gameplay escalates dramatically. 2-player fighters fly onto the screen. This is the Stinger, which flits around the field and shoots a deadly laser. Ship is high-priority target. Since it's not dealt with, it'll pick off all squadron ships and end the game. When the player attempts to dock a friendly fighter into the squadron formation, they have the choice of any empty ship position shown in the squadron. A special feature occurs when the player's ship docks into the frontmost ship position. This causes the squadron formation to regroup into a different pattern. If the lead position is occupied, a fighter is added to the reserve count above the player's score. So it's like you can add your own lives or reserve ships. And then at the end of the first phase, this one is lengthy. Whoa, Sega was not expecting this. So this is just the first phase. After that, it goes to a sequence of fighters raising and enlarging in size and turning into the screen. After the afterburners light up, you proceed to the second phase, where a space tunnel appears on the screen, and the player uses the rotary control to steer the squadron formation through the tunnel. Any fighter which hits a side wall of the tunnel explodes on contact. A triangular guide is shown during the sequence to show the player where the triangle ship is formation should be. If the player keeps the formation centered within the guide, no ships will be lost. Once out of the space tunnel, the player resumes the second round. This is more difficult top-view battle, the beginning of the game. And then regardless of the number of squadron ships on screen, there's always 7 missiles available to the player. 2-player is played with alternating plays, so they couldn't do 2 simultaneously. It'd be too crazy. There's the point values for enemy ships and the Stinger ships. Rack up those point values, and then the rest is setup. That was like 1/50th of the manual. The rest of it was setting it up. Let's go to the arcade and play some TACScan. It's April 7th, 1982, and this is by Sega. Yes. So technically we're in Japan playing the first release of TACScan, and then later in 82 we're going to be seeing TACScan released in other places, primarily North America. So check this out. This is the color vector graphic game meant to be a space shooter. So it's a scrolling shoot 'em up, still using the classic Starfield in the background. All right, so I'm going to zoom this in. We kind of see all the artwork around the outside, and now it's time to go. Let's put some more credits in. Let's go 5. We'll be here a while. So I'm in control of the spinner at the bottom. You're able to move and maneuver your squadron of ships. This is the entry level. All you're doing is just avoiding ships until they actually fire upon you. And you notice that the screen's scrolling further left and right, so I can actually avoid enemy ships if I need to. And the fire control is the... Oh, don't give me. It's the excessive fire mode, where if I tap it really fast, I get fast shots like this, but they just don't go very far. But I mean, look at this, the full squadron, these shots shoot way out there, look at that. Man, this feels like I have a ton of firepower. All right, let's get a reserve ship in there, there we go. Oh, we picked up one, nice. And then it transitions to the next mode. Wow. It even feels like we're getting slowdown. It's pushing the arcade too hard as we warp down. And so we haven't reached the tunnel yet. Let me get another reserve in there. You got to decide when you add the ships and dodge them. But as your squadron gets larger and larger, it's just a bigger target for the enemy. Gosh. Now this is interesting. The excessive fire mode isn't ending the shot. I can actually shoot really, really fast, and the shots continue into the distance. Do I have any reserves? Yeah, I'll put some more in there. Oh, right whenever they volley me with fire. And the emulation cannot do the arcade game. Oh, wait, pick it up. There you go. Picked up another one. It can't do the sound credit. The sound is a phenomenal experience in the arcade. Oh no! Oh my gosh. Okay, so, I wasn't even paying. I realized we can't hit the walls of the tunnel. So the spinner, I'm like, freaking out. Not realizing what's happening. All right, so let's go for it again. Practice mode. I mean, look at that. Wiping them away with shrapnel feels fantastic. Oh gosh, yeah. Looking pretty good so far. Control-wise, though, I wonder why they picked the spinner to fine-tune the shot. They didn't have to. You have such a broad streak of fire that you really didn't need a paddle or spinner to control it. Oh, here we go, transitioning again. Like right there, that sound effect is way louder in the arcades. I mean, I'm not saying it's just louder. You realize that you're playing something pretty impressive when you play it in the arcades. Gosh, and dodging the ship's firepower is... Oh man, okay, add some more. What do we got? 3 ships left? I'm gonna have to pick some more up if we can. Not only are you getting this sense of I am so strong with all these shots I can shoot, but you also have the freedom to move left and right further than you can in other space shooters. Like, right, for example, shots come out, I'm just going to move over here and get out of the way. At least on this side. Oh, wait, no. I got one more reserve. Okay, here we go. Oh, wait, no. I thought we were going to move to the tunnel section to focus. Here we go. Nice and easy, guys. Don't go crazy. They even give you, like, a little gauge to... No, nice and easy. There you go. Whoa, crazy. Oh, man. And I got one more reserve ship. Let's use them all. Gosh, yeah, so you have to focus on not just your shots. It's like taking the same tropes as a space shooter, but it cranks it up a notch, because every space shooter, you're going to have to focus on how to shoot ships and dodge their shots, but this one just feels... Oh, pick it up. I can't turn to the left any further. Oh my gosh, I'm out of reserve ships. Yeah, everything is heightened. And it also feels, when you have that behind the view, it reminds me of the scaling that we're going to be seeing by Sega. We've already seen it with Turbo, but it's pretty cool seeing it now. No, I'm actually using an analog joystick to simulate that. I also can have spinner control with a mouse. Like sometimes when we play paddle games, I use a mouse to do that, or an actual ball to spin to the side if I can plug it in, or if I know it's going to come ahead of time on the channel. So it need to be fine-tuned. A lot of these arcade cabinets, if you saw the older videos on the channel, I was going in live and adjusting the arcade cabinet sensitivity in MAME to make it feel smooth or authentic, but now I just go in ahead of time and make sure it's all set, because it does take a little bit of time. It's almost like I'm becoming the operator of the arcade cabinet. All right, so that's TAC-SCAN. Now, we've seen games that take this perspective. We've seen games that switch out the play mode. We've seen the color vector graphics. This has everything in it, I would say, except talking from the other games we've seen up to this point. But I'm still going to say it's one of the best games you could play. TAC-SCAN is up there. The experience, too, is an excellent space shooter. So I'm going to say 4.5 stars for TAC-SCAN, considering everything else we've seen up to this point. It's those color vector graphics. Seeing the shrapnel fly away is so cool. Love it. All right, let's press forward and see our next game. We're going back home to the Apple II. This is Zero Gravity Pinball. Quite an anomaly of a game, because we're really not going to play pinball. Let's take a look at the artwork. There it is, front of the box of Zero Gravity Pinball. And in the advertisement flyer, pinball's gone into orbit. Now that you conquered a pool hall pinball, it's time to take your Apple into outer space. A machine language arcade game with full color, high-res graphics, and sounds like you've never heard before. Oh, that's a good idea too. I need to check that one out. All right, let's pop in and play some Zero Gravity Pinball. It's April 9th, 1982, and we're on the Apple II. We don't have time to load the language card. Let's go. Does that mean he's going to talk to us? Maybe? Zero Gravity Pinball, written by Don Fudge. Way to go, Don. Do you want instructions? Yes. How do you play this game? Zero Gravity Pinball is a game for one person, not two. The idea is to rack up as many points as possible. You'll need a game paddle, got it, and you'll need to use the keyboard. Oh, at the same time, this game was devised for astronauts to play in space on their Apple computers, if Apples ever get into space, that is. Gravity is something astronauts begin to crave during long periods of weightlessness, so we felt that if they were to play a game that reminded them of what they were missing, their feelings might get hurt. We opted instead for a zero gravity game, which we hope make them feel right at home. In this game, you'll be using game PDL button 0 to flip any of the 10 flippers. Yes, I said 10. If you want to, play Raster. What's its name? That's funny. Another video game referencing another video game, Raster Blaster. If you want a real challenge, play our Zero Gravity Pinball. All you do is hold the paddle in your hand, turn the knob to light up various flippers, which means they're in play. There's no way to flip a flipper unless it's lit up. By the way, flippers only flip when there's a ball nearby. Hitting the PDL button when the ball is not near any flipper is of no use. The reason you flip flippers is to keep the space ball out of deep space. Deep space is anything that is left to the left edge of the left flippers, and the opposite is true for the right flippers. Oh man. Okay, so we already read an article on manuals and instructions for games. This is slightly comical, but it's very confusing. Deep space is also dotted lines at the top and bottom of your screen. Flippers won't help you here. You'll need to erect a electroplasmic force field to save your space balls from fate worse than death, also known as deep space. Since you're probably not carrying an electroplasmatic force fields in your back pocket, I'll let you on a secret now. All it takes to erect such a... Oh my gosh, maybe I shouldn't have said instructions. How many instructions do we have? Keys or spacebar will be hit when your ball is a little away from the upper or lower void. Force fields will not operate. Occasionally you'll find that you're... Oh my goodness, there's so much text. There's still instructions, and we get the point values. Okay, thank you. There's still text, though. One more thing about the flippers. Okay, well, I'm going to pass by all of this. I couldn't believe how much instruction there is to how to play zero-gravity pinball. Oh my, they're still going. Does it ever end? Another dirty trick to play. If you get 50... It's still going. Special force ray is in effect. One less possible... Oh my goodness. Avoid the void. Wow. Longest instruction in-game that I think we've ever seen. That's the most text, and it's a zero-gravity pinball game? All right, we're going to fast forward through the setup section. My land, that's crazy. All right, what difficulty do we want? Let's go 1. I don't know what to expect now. Zero-gravity pinball. After all the instructions, I may not fully understand the game, because I didn't read it through everything. All right, so I got the paddle controls. Oops, spacebar. I just began the game, and the ball... floated at the top. I'm going to push my paddle controller, and now, let's see, left and right. Okay, that's the paddles on the sides. Got it. Okay, I see, yes. Oh, that's how you move the paddles. Wait, so the paddles, yeah, you can highlight them. They're the purple ones on the side. You can highlight them with the paddle, but then you can't push the paddle button to use the paddle unless the ball's nearby it. Like right now I'm trying to get over to that side, see? What in the world? And it's controlled with a paddle, so I'm having to highlight them like this, like the purple part, you can see here. Oh, and it flies through the paddle if you're not on it. Sensitive. Make sure your Apple II paddle is set up correctly. So did you get that? Did you see how this is working? What in the world? First of all, it's zero gravity. I guess that should have been the red flag before I bought the game. But then second, it's using a paddle control to have multiple paddles, but you can't move the paddles until the ball gets next to it. And then you have a void in the center. Oh my goodness. Well, considering we're at time, I'll say that's the taste we get of zero gravity pinball. For a little practice, you might get something out of it, but I'll say it's unique, so I'll say 2.5 stars. But, whoa, a lot of instruction there. There's zero gravity pinball for you. And that's where we got to put our video game playing on pause. It is another false advertisement. I loaded up everybody with Dig Dug, and we didn't even get to it. We did go to the Japanese arcades to play some TaxScan, and it looks like we're going to have to continue going to Japan in our next episode. So that's where we're going to be leaving our game playing in 1982. That's it for today, and like I always say, I'll see you in a Japanese arcade. Hey everybody, thanks for checking out the channel and joining me on my quest to play every single video game in order of release. We'll be streaming live every weekday at 9 p.m. Central, so join us and let us know if we missed any games along the way. This video would not be possible without Launchbox, RetroArch, and MAME. Tell all your friends there's some crazy guy named Chronologically Gaming trying to play every single video game. We have links down below that'll send you to places like our Discord and Patreon, and one that says all the video games we've ever played. If you go there, it's a list of everything, and you can click right to the game you want to see. Chronologically Gaming is the name to look for. We are perpetually retro, and we will catch you next time.